Bring us then to item number 8. Denise, and our final item. Denise, would you read item number 8, please?
Franchise fee litigation settlement agreement. Staff recommends approval.
Very good. Gina is our presenter, and also Doug James in the audience. Gina.
Thanks, Mayor. I actually don't have a presentation. Just now that we are all sufficiently tired and cranky, I'm going to introduce Doug James, and he's going to present the settlement agreement for you.
Very good. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, council members, it's a pleasure to be here tonight to formally ask the council to approve the settlement agreement in the Hauser case. We have a formal agreement that has been signed by the plaintiffs, the class representatives, and their counsel. We're asking the council to authorize the mayor to sign the settlement agreement on behalf of the city. First, I'd like to start by saying that this is an incredibly complex matter. If people have questions or concerns, we want them to understand that the settlement is not being administered by the city. The court has appointed Attorney Matthew Monforton as class counsel. He is the attorney representing all of the class members. The court has also appointed Sim Pluris as the class administrator to handle most of the details with respect to the settlement. So there are a lot of things going on, and it's the responsibility of class counsel or the class administrator, not the city. So people should not contact the city if they have questions or concerns. We encourage them to contact their attorney, Mr. Monforton, or the class administrator. So I'm going to try and move through this quickly. The claim period for the settlement is February 2 of 2015 through June 30th of 2018. I point out that the city actually formally abolished the franchise fees 2 days before this lawsuit was filed. So we've spent nearly 5 years litigating something that does not exist. The class administrator that's been appointed by the court is responsible for a number of things, including creating a list of current and former city customers who paid the franchise fee during the claim period. It's also creating a list of excluded customers who should not receive a part of the settlement. The class administrator has created a website that has the settlement documents on it. It's at www.cityofbillingsfranchisefeessettlement.com. If people have questions, we direct them to that. When I mentioned this is complex, you have to look back and say, the city eliminated the franchise fees nearly 5 years ago. In those 5 years, the city has changed a lot. The customer list for the Public Works Department has changed significantly. People have died, they've married, divorced, changed names, moved out of the city, moved to the city, or moved within the city. And all of those changes change the customer lists. The city has a great program for keeping track of its customers, but it's a billing software program. It was not designed to facilitate a class action settlement. We can't just go to the computer and say, tell us who were customers during the claim period. We can't extract that information. So the class administrator has been hired to determine that by going through different customer lists from different time periods and making that determination. Now, the class administrator sent postcards out to the various groups, and as you know, there was some mix-ups with that. The class administrator has been very good to work with. They acknowledged it. They corrected the error at its expense. It's costing the city nothing extra. So there are three groups, and I'll just kind of go through and identify them. First are eligible current customer class members. These folks should have received a blue card from the class administrator. There were 24,466 customers who were sent blue cards. We have former customers. These got the original white card. There were 24,913 customers who got white cards. So there are more former customers than there are current customer class members. We also have a group called excluded customers, excluded current customers who received a cherry card. Generally, these are people who first initiated service after June 30 of 2018, after the franchise fees were eliminated. So we have these three buckets, but we don't have a computer program that will go through and tell us where everybody properly goes. The class administrator has made some determinations on this, but we want to be very careful. If someone is entitled to participate in the settlement, we want them to be participating. We want them to receive their share of it. So the way it's been worked out is that current customer class members, we know who they are, they will automatically receive a portion of the settlement as a rebate against their public works bill in 1 month. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to file a claim. They got a blue card that tells them that. Now, for those who received white cards, former customers, or excluded current customers, they need to file a claim form and say, I did pay franchise fees, I want to participate in the settlement. They will receive a portion of the settlement from what's called the claim fund, and that will be paid out by the class administrator, not by the city. In terms of the schedule, we anticipate that the court will hold a hearing to approve the settlement on November 16th. It'll take a little while for the court to rule, but we would anticipate a decision from the court by the end of November, and we hope that it will approve the settlement. It will also hold a hearing on approval of class counsel's attorney's fees. If anyone objects to the settlement, there'll be a hearing on that. Then once that order is entered, we want to wait before we do anything until the appeals time runs on that order. So once the appeals times runs, then we're in a position where we can start funding the settlement and terminating this case. My expectation is with this being around the end of the year, the money will probably be paid out late January or February of 2024. If someone didn't receive a postcard and they paid franchise fees, they should contact the class administrator or their attorney, Mr. Monforton. And they can direct them to the website, to a claim form, so that they can participate. We've worked very hard to make sure that people get notice of this settlement. Besides the claim form, the city mailed a notice of the proposed settlement to all of its current customers. The city also has a large number of email addresses for current and former customers. The settlement administrator emailed that to everyone for whom we had an email address. Then after the postcard snafu, we created a second notice, 2 pages, that the court approved. That was again mailed to everyone, all the current customers, and it was emailed to everyone for whom we have an email address. The other notices that we've gone through, as you may recall, the mayor has read a statement at the beginning of 4 council meetings or work sessions, directing people to the website or to copies of the settlement notice that were here. The settlement notice has been posted on Facebook, Twitter, the city's website, other social media sources. It's been mailed to media outlets. It's also been published in local newspapers, the Yellowstone County News, Billings Times, the Billings Gazette, and others. If people have questions, I would again encourage them to look at the website, to contact the settlement administrator, or to contact their attorney, Mr. Monforton. At this time, the staff's recommendation is that the council approve the settlement. Accordingly, I ask the council to approve the settlement and authorize the mayor to sign the settlement agreement on behalf of the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Rowan, Councilmember Bernice?
Doug, I heard you say that you believed council should wait until the appeals period had run to begin identifying budget resources, and I don't understand why we would need to wait.
Not to identify budget resources, but before we start paying out the settlement.
Okay, thank you, that clears
We
it up.
just don't want to release the money till we're sure that this is done forever.
But nothing stops us from, we're in the middle of the budget now, so, I mean, of the FY24 budget now, we can begin identifying those resources in the budget for fiscal year 24.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Councilmember Bernice?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to disclose I am going to be a benefit of this, so I will be voting on this issue. And but I do have a question because I have received those postcards, and I don't know if I'm in or out, truthfully, because at one point it said I'm excluded, and then I had to mail it back in. So you're telling me if other people are confused like I am as far as if I'm in or out of is to call the administrator?
They should call or email the class administrator or Mr. Monforton. The notices have addresses and email addresses and telephone numbers for both of them. And from everything that I've seen that's been reported to me, they both have been very responsive.
Okay, and Mayor, quick follow-up on that. So would they, if I call in, will they tell me they've received my postcard and I'm either in or out?
If you talk to the class administrator, they should be able to tell you which group you're in and whether or not you need to file a claim form.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Tricky.
Mr. James, so what is the current situation now for us council members in terms of talking to the taxpayers who are going to have to put this bill on the people who were covered by public safety during that time period? Can we start talking about it now, or do we have to wait?
The short answer is you can talk to people as a part of the settlement. Well, let me back up. As a class action, once the court certifies the class, the court has appointed class counsel to represent everyone in the class. So all of the city customers are represented by Matthew Monfort. They have an attorney-client relationship. The rules for class actions say that we can't break that relationship without further authority from the court and from counsel. The settlement agreement, the parties have agreed that once the settlement notice went out to everyone, that you could discuss it, you could talk about it. The court has authorized that. So yes, if you were asked about it, you may discuss it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions for Doug? Okay, if not, we do need a motion. Councilmember Boyette?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the settlement agreement concerning franchise fee litigation as recommended by staff.
Councilmember Gilick, second. Discussion. Any discussion? Councilmember Boyette?
So when do you get off the clock? That's always been a question that seriously we've been asked for a long time.
Me too.
Yes.
I plan to retire at the end of the year. So the only thing is if the court would not approve the settlement on November 16th, then we would have some issues that we have to deal with. Assuming the court approves the settlement, Really, the only thing left to do after that will be to monitor the situation and to file some reports with the court. And our involvement at that point will be minimal.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilmember Tricky?
I guess, you know, that as a member of the unrepresented class of taxpayers who are going to have to foot the bill for this, I suppose I should recuse myself as well, but I'm not going to.
Me neither, but we should revise our rules on that, shouldn't we? Or think it through. Any other discussion? Okay, Councilmember Joy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It seemed kind of like a long time, excuse me, since the beginning of this, and I really do hope that the court accepts this settlement and everything goes through smoothly, because it's been a long time. It's been a concern for council, and I don't, it's a very difficult thing to be representing people in an action like this, in a lawsuit like this. So I hope everything goes very well and we're done with it forever. Thank you.
Very good. We'll proceed to a vote. The motion's for approval of settlement agreement. If in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. If opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Yeah, no. We got to.
Thank you all.
I think we.
Public comment?
Yeah. Public comment on non-agenda items.
Mayor, we do
Anybody?
have somebody online.
No, there is no members of the
Mayor,
public.
we do have somebody online.
Oh, seriously, we do. Thank you.
So it's a screen name Google Pixel 4.
Please go ahead, our online commentator. Can you identify that person again?
Go ahead, Google Pixel 4. You need to unmute yourself. I'm saying they're not responding, so I think we can move on.
Okay, sorry, commentator, that we had a technical glitch there.